So let me ask you, when you ask people why they have insurance, why they have car insurance, why they have homeowners insurance, what's the answer? Most of the time they say, because I have to. Well, it's really more than just you have to. It's really something you need. All kinds of things can go wrong and you don't want to be stuck paying the bill or worse. Let me introduce you to my good friend, Michale Esposito. Michale has an awesome insurance company where he provides the right kind of insurance for the right kinds of risks that you might have. Auto, home, all kinds of different businesses, all kinds of different things. One thing that's really good about him, though, is he's combined his family and his business together. He's got an awesome wife, Devin, two wonderful daughters who I've met, Denise and Tenley. They're awesome kids, really smart too, just so you know. And he named his company after them, Den 10 Insurance. Isn't that awesome the way he puts those two things together? He's a real entrepreneur. He's got not just the insurance company, but a media company. There's a podcast, public speaking workshops, and a podcast. How does he do it? I don't know, but he manages to pack it all in together. So let's welcome Michale here and let's ask him a little about what's going on in his world. So Michale, great to be here.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me, Howie.
Yeah. So tell me a little about how Den 10 got started. I mean, I have a little bit of history behind it. I know a little about, but tell us, what was that epiphany moment that?
Oh my goodness. It's not going to be the success story that you may have envisioned or that your viewers may have thought
Not
of.
yet.
Not yet. Yep. It actually came from a roller coaster ride. So I started out my career in sales in 2005. I worked at Yellow Book and started outside sales from there. And I had a really great journey in sales in that I was a star performer, rep of the month, President's Club, all of these great accolades, and then failed and crashed and burned, really. And that was my sales career, was these really great highs, awesome highs, and then really low lows. And I was never really able to understand why. And it took a very long time to finally come to a place of understanding. And I remember the moment, in fact, where I was fired for the last time. And I didn't know it was going to be my last time fired.
That's scary.
It turned out to be my last time fired. And it was in 2016 or 17, right around there. The sun was coming in the window. My wife had just left for work. And I sat on the couch and Googled how to get rich. Ooh. And it wasn't how to get rich in the sense of like get rich quick schemes. It was more of like how to become wealthy is what my idea was what can I do with my skills that's also going to impact my community positively and become wealthy and become someone where I can afford the lifestyle and afford the things that I've always dreamed of since a little kid. One of my dream cars as a kid is a Lamborghini, Lamborghini Diablo. I, in fact, have a Aventador here, which is the new one, the newest dream car. But that was what I thought about. And then the other part to it all was, in my skill set of sales, how can I use that and be the person that I was raised to be? In 1994, my parents started a non-for-profit called Forgotten Children of Haiti. And I was brought up with the idea to help others and to give back. And so I couldn't just choose a profession that would just make me wealthy and then not give back. So what I stumbled upon was the financial industry. I knew very quickly, because of my dyslexia, that numbers wasn't going to be my thing. And so Wall Street was out the window. And I fell upon insurance. And I think I remember the moment in that I read somewhere that insurance was relationship driven. And I also knew the insurance agents in my community were community members. They were either sitting on a chamber board or they were doing a fundraiser or something. So very quickly, I tied the two together of, I'm good at building relationships and I want to give back to my local community. And so I decided to become an insurance agent. And that's when the epiphany happened.
Wow. There you go. So that's pretty cool. It's not often, we talk about this in our office too, frankly, but people don't wake up one day and says, hey, I think I want to sell insurance. But maybe you kind of did, actually, as maybe a bit of a process, but there you go. You came to that.
It was, and it was something that at first I thought I could do kind of like on the side. I was also acting at the time, and it was part of that whole finding myself. I thought, well, I always wanted to be an actor growing up as a kid. That was what, to your point there, growing up, I always wanted to be an actor. So I thought, okay, the reason why I'm succeeding and failing is because I'm not in the profession that I want to be in. So I was doing acting, and I was thinking, all right, while I'm waiting for my different gigs, I can run a few quotes. That's not true. You cannot do that. You cannot do it. It does not work that way. But acting gave me that spirit of being able to perform, of learning performance, of being able to stand on a stage. I did theater as well as TV. And I was able to stand on a stage and perform in front of a large audience, to where how we met in Toastmasters, it became second nature, became something that I was able to be comfortable in. So I was able to bring the two together. I know you didn't ask me, but I think that this leads in very nicely, in that I was able to tie in this whole performance background into Michale Esposito Inc., which is the media company. And actually, that's where it all started. Before Den10 was Michale Esposito Inc. as my personal brand. And that was because I was dipping my toes in the entrepreneurial waters. I wasn't ready yet. I was still working somewhere. And so I was like, how can I do the two? So that's where I came up with Michale Esposito Inc. and developed the YouTube videos and the YouTube channel, and then eventually the podcast and everything. It came from that performance background.
That's very cool that you could kind of blend those two kind of things together. So how did it feel when you got your first podcast out? What did that feel like?
So my very first podcast started, you were on one of my first podcasts, in that I started it during COVID when, the world shut down. And for me, again, as I mentioned, the community was so important to me. I, at the time, sat on the board for the New Pulse Chamber. I sat on the board for the Gardener Association. I was on the board for our Toastmasters Club. So I was very involved in our community. And so for me to see our friends close their doors, it affected me. And so I wanted to shine a light on them. And that's when the podcast, which was an Instagram Live, the shining light was to shine a light on them. And I had the opportunity to have you on the show.
Yeah, that was fun. That was a lot of fun.
But I think, and I know that we're going to talk about this as we go along, but that's what got me the tap on the shoulder from iHeart. That ended. I did that for 60 days straight. And then months went by, and then I got a call from iHeart asking for a local podcaster and asking me if I was interested. And I'll tell you, if there's something that you want, do not hesitate, which is one of my first pieces of wisdom for your watchers here, is I said yes. I said, yep, I'm interested. I'm ready to go. Just let me know when to come in the studio. And my friend Lara, who's the person who asked me, said, well, what are you going to speak about? And I said, I don't know yet, but I'll call you in half an hour.
Very good, very good. Right. That's kind of an old, I don't know if it's an old sales thing or not. If somebody asks you to do something, just say yes and figure it out later.
That's right.
Don't even hesitate.
So how it felt when I first aired my first podcast on iHeart was it was like the dream coming true. It's seeing the work. I dig into the world of manifestation. I dig into the world of positive thinking and affirmations and everything. And I really believe in that world. And so it was seeing my manifestations coming true. So it's that dream coming true. And the first one isn't the dream come true, but it's that little piece that's getting you there. And as it's happening, you're going, wow, this is really happening. So that would be the feeling. Is, I guess I was doing like a train motion, and that would be it's like the train's leaving the station.
There you go. And we say the harder you work, the luckier you get.
That's right.
To kind of put it all together. So now you've got a little bit of history over months, year or so. What have you learned since the beginning of Instagram Live to now podcast, speaker, trainer, all the other things?
Den10 Insurance.
And Den10 Insurance, right.
Well, I bring up Den10 Insurance because what I really learned, Den10 is really the teaching ground for me, is the learning ground. In that Michale Esposito Inc., because it was a dip in the pool per se, right? There was never a formalized business plan behind it. There was, I want to try this. I'm going to take on this project. Let's go for it, right? And I worked with my team on it. And a big shout out to Cecile and to Katie and everybody else behind the scenes. Worked with my team on it, and then we hit the ground and went, right? And that's great. With Den10, I actually had to formalize a business plan. I had to write out all of my thoughts and write out everything and then submit that to a bank, because I did look for funding, and thankfully, because of my plan, because of the different people on my team, I was able to secure that funding. And here's where the learning came in that you're going to plan things and they're going to change. And learning how to adapt to those changes is where the learning came in for me. And when I had this beautiful plan, I had this idea, this vision, I can see it very clearly, and I'm putting all the things in motion to execute on it. I'm getting all the right people to execute on it, but things don't execute the way that you think that they will, or that you wrote down. And that's where the learning happens, because it's adapting to that moment of understanding what happened, what needs to change, do you want to change it? And, sometimes sticking with your guns and saying, you know what, I know that this is the right path, and so we're going to stay on this path, and we're just going to see it through because I know it's going to work. Or looking at it and going, all right, that was a roadblock and it's not right for us, so we're going to just pull away and go somewhere else and find a new option. So that's the learning, is just adaptability and understanding that things will always change and will never be as you may have written them down.
Yeah. And I'm sure you had some experiences with competing interests also, right? If you have employees or the bank or the lawyers or iHeart, people are telling you different things, do this, do that. But you're the leader, you've got to figure out what works for you, kind of regardless of what other people say.
And I'll say that's another piece for all of you, all our listeners and watchers here, is that's why it's so important to have that plan going in, is that when you have this clear vision, this clear plan, and it's thought out and it's on paper, it's documented, it makes it harder for those people to interject their ideas into your plan. They'll try, but because yours is so clear, they might, and then you make the decision as to whether you want to take on a suggestion or if you want to table it. And I think that because of that clarity, it gives you the confidence, or at least it gave me the confidence, to be able to say, hey, I think that that's a great idea, but that's not right for me. Or that is a great idea, I'm going to take it.
Or even not right now, either way. Right. So that's very, very cool. So we have so you've been at this for quite a while. You have some success stories, either in Michale Esposito Inc. or in Den10? Like, what kind of, tell us what kind of fun stuff happened.
I'll tell you on Michale Esposito Inc., a success story there very quickly is through my time of podcasting, I podcasted different business leaders, C-suite executives, entrepreneurs, and local people and people from out of the area. And there was one person that I couldn't get a hold of via his own personal email or LinkedIn. I kept getting his PR person, and I thought of it as a roadblock. And meanwhile, it was an amazing opportunity to a company that was just about to go public. The reason why I think that that's such a success story at the podcast is not to diminish everybody else that came on, but to lift everybody else that came on. That by having a public company on the podcast, I think gave me and gave the podcast the credibility that you and your company are going to get something out of this. And here's who you're in the likes of. You're in the likes of another company who's public. And that might not be your aspiration, but we have executives and entrepreneurs that brought companies public, or that are in what I learned, stealth mode, which means that they're about to go public. I got some Silicon Valley CEOs on the podcast. So really cool. So I thought that was really cool, because it uplifts all of those podcasters that came on with me, all those entrepreneurs that came on, that are some of them solopreneurs that are just one-person operators, but their story just as important as that CEO. I just thought that was a really cool one. On the Den10 side, I would say the success story there is the momentum that we're building, in that we started back, I remember just getting my application in from New York State and in August of 2021, and being official in August of 2021. And here we are today, May something of 2022. And we're building momentum, and just got a call today from one of my sales executives speaking about a company in Jersey with a 6-figure premium. And we are, it's whether we get it or not doesn't matter. The point is that just leveled us up in a way where we have the confidence that we know we can do it. We know the markets that we can work with to get it, and it just is great momentum for us. We know that the customers, the clients that we're going to be working with are mostly predominantly here in the Hudson Valley of the regular working class people.
Yep.
And much smaller premiums, but to have that put in front of us and to work towards premium sizes of that is just a really great success. And I'm really proud of my team for setting that up.
Well, and you do, right? If you do enough quotes or you get enough of those kind of contacts, somebody's going to say yes. I mean, that's really just a matter of time for that stuff to happen too, for sure. So now, where do you see yourself going in the next 3-5 years or so?
Well, we have big plans at Den 10 and of course at Michale Esposito Inc. There's a lot of irons in the fire. On Michale Esposito Inc., I'm looking to launch very soon a video workshop. So right now I do public speaking workshops in person. And what I'm working on right now is doing some recordings where we'll have videos where you can just buy my public speaking workshop and then have the one-to-one or a cohort of sorts to support that video sequence that online learning, so that you're not left alone, because the whole point of buying it is that you get the guidance from me and from our community together, right? So that's something that we have going on. And then at Den 10, hey, look, cat's out of the bag for me on this. I'm looking to launch the Den 10 Roadshow. And what that is for me is that what I want to do is be able to bring my team and to the communities that we serve, and bring our communities together, showcasing the businesses that are there, and offering workshops for people wherever they are in their relationships in life, but also for their businesses to help them. So I think that that'll be happening a lot sooner than 5 years. My 5-year plan for Den 10 is to expand and grow, and the same thing with Michale Esposito Inc. I can't get too involved in those plans, but I will say something that's happening right now that brings the two together is Den 10 is the sponsor to Michale Esposito Inc.'s live shows. The Michale Esposito podcast is actually going to be live in person. I mean live, like in person, believe it or not, in person. We're going to do a live show. We have a series of events happening at the Denizen Theater every first Wednesday of the month at 6 o'clock. We have an Eventbrite for it, and the proceeds for purchasing a ticket goes to a local charity. The first one is going to Family of New Paltz. So that's really important to us.
Wow, that's great.
Helping out the local charities. So that's what we're doing. We have a really great panel for the first one. We'll have an awesome panel for the second one. And we're looking to fill the seats on that.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. I hope I can come to some of those things. That'd be a great time. So this has been awesome, Michael. I really appreciate you coming on here and having a little chat with us. I think you've got great experience, great story, and a trajectory from the past, the roller coaster, right? And now we're moving up to the top of the roller coaster again. So that's really awesome. So it's great to be here for you. And anybody needs some car insurance, this is the guy to go to. There you go. So,
and I just want to say one thing to everyone here too, because we talked about community in the beginning. Den 10 is focused on giving back to our communities locally and globally. And so back to your 5-year, 10-year, 20-year plan for me personally, it's to be able to work on the Den 10 Foundation and giving back locally and globally to our communities. That's really important to us.
And as you expand, the communities expand too.
That's right.
Right? Everything goes all around. So great to be here. Thanks for being here, Michael. And I'll see you tomorrow, actually, again.
Yeah, I'll see you at Toastmasters.